The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Pastor Mike, good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. Call, text or email at the moment. Our WhatsApps are gone a little haywire. I don't know whether it's anything to do with Manx Telecom and Manx.net being a bit iffy at the moment. You heard the report in the news. If your Manx.net isn't playing ball today, that's probably the reason for it. Anyway, lots to mention. The Enterprise Minister was on Manx Radio this morning talking about the revised proposal in respect of the island's minimum wage. And we've still got that story about Health and Social Care Minister Claire Christian. Tim Glover, Albury Castle Town and Maloo MHK, was calling for more clarity over Manx Care's cost-cutting exercise. In the middle of it, of course, are the patients, the people who really matter in all this. The politicians, civil servants and what have you, well, they only exist to make sure the patients, you, me, everyone else, is helped by Manx Care. That's the reason for it. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. But I don't know about finger pointing. Does that do any good? Does that get any more people seen? Anyway, I suppose we have to wait until April now, don't we? Howard's first with us today. Hi, Howard.
Hello, Andy. Just a bit of a change from the usual wind turbines, fossil fuels and various other grumbles. Does anybody, well, I suppose they have to be about my age and old wrinkly, remember what used to be the Douglas Bay Swim? Now, that started off, I can't remember for the life of me who was the organising body, but they used to start off from Port Jack and they'd swim across the bay, directly across the bay, and come ashore then, winners or otherwise, at the Jubilee Steps. And now there's so much wild water swimming, and the alleged clarity of the water that's in the bay, I wonder whether it's worth, even thinking about having a Douglas Bay swim again.
When do you think was the last time you saw it, Howard?
Well, I can remember, as I say, it was in the 1960s. I actually remember one of the chaps that used to swim it, because his father, he used to be the swimming instructor, his name was Kellett, at Ballacameen School.
Right.
But it was just something that was organised. I only assume it was locally, because it'd be something like what started off the parish walk in a small way and then built up gradually and then disappeared.
Well, the fact is, if there's a heritage of it happening, and I don't know if, we'll find out if anybody knows, when did it start, how long did it go on for how many years was it swum, and what was the point, what were people doing it for? Now, as you say, this water swimming now is the whole thing, people dashing in at the crack of dawn. It may be something, you never know, but it's another hook to hang our hat on, Howard.
That's it. Well, I was thinking when they had the powerboat racing in the bay.
Crikey, yes.
Around the bay. Not around the island, but they were... I can't remember. There is a specific name for these boats. They're small, and they're basically like a skateboard with a damn big outboard on the back. And they used to race round and round the bay, and the spectators could stand where the railings are and look over, and these things would go flying past hell for leather. But it was the Douglas Bay Swim was the one that we talked about last night, and I thought, oh, Lord, I remember that from the 1960s.
So I'm taking it you never took the plunge, Howard?
Well, a bit difficult. I can't swim.
Oh, right.
A lot of people would like to see me go in, but I can swim like a brick.
Right. Okay, Howard. Well, we'll see. We'll put it down and see what happens.
Thanks, Andy.
Good to hear from you. The Douglas Bay Swim. Do you remember? If it was the 1970s, that's 45, 50 odd years ago. Can you remember it? Did you ever take part in it? What was it? Mr. Kellett Mr. Kellett from Ballacameen School. Do you remember anything about it? Text 166 177. Don't WhatsApp at the moment. It's gone blowed. It's just not working. We've just got the soldering iron out for that. Email studio at manxradio.com. Call 66 13 68. Manx Care, says G, has cancelled 450 appointments that have no clinical value. And MHK should ask why such appointments are normal when money is available, says G. Any thoughts on that? Does Mannin Line ever go to speak to the young people at Isle of Man College, or is it just sixth formers? And how about giving pre-sixth formers a voice for a change? It might be nice to hear from 15-year-olds. Interesting. Thank you, 475. Yes, we've gone to sixth formers now for, it must be about 5-6 years or so. Just chatting to them. Yes, if Isle of Man College wish it to happen, then all we have to do, it's one of those things that sounds simple when you just do it. It just requires a lot of organisation, getting that number of children together, that number of students together. But yes, I mean, if anybody wants it, if anyone's listening from school and would like to do 15-year-olds, then by all means. Oh, and by the way, while we're at it, if anybody's at a care home, and I've said this in the past, it'd be fantastic to get into a care home and to get a dozen people from the care home in and just chat about things in general. It's nice to get out and about, nice to hear what people have to say. Lots of people are a bit intimidated by calling the radio station. No reason why, it's only just me and you. But I mean, lots of people think it's a big thing. Well, once you've done it once, it's as easy as pie. Isn't it, Wilf?
Yes. I got a surprise for you.
Oh, where are you?
I'm still in hospital.
All right.
Still crunching hard sweets.
Yes.
I've actually had 2 get well cards sent to me.
Oh, great.
With loads of names on. Now, the first one came from the Folk Club in Ramsey, which is at the Buff Club on a Thursday night. And the second one come, Mary Malloy, one of the group of the Irish group, and her husband come here with a big box of biscuits, probably the ones you would like, and a card with all their names written on it. So that's very appreciative.
Well, that's fantastic, isn't it? You've not been playing the spoons, Wilf, have you, while you've been in hospital?
No, I would if the Irish group would come, but then they might not. The ones that want to sleep might not appreciate.
What size spoons do you play?
Soup spoons.
Oh, soup spoons, right, okay. Well, how are you feeling, Wilf? Everybody's asking how you're feeling.
I'm feeling all right, but I can't I can't go jogging up a rule again yet. But apart from that, they're talking about putting me to Ramsey. So if they get me to Ramsey Hospital, they might put me straight home. I don't know. But that's in the next few days, I hope.
Well, I've had messages about you, Wilf, and from people who are in the medical trade or were in the medical trade, a couple of ex-nurses, just saying you've got to take it easy because pneumonia is no joke. You've got to take it easy.
All right. Well, that's kind of spoiled it a bit because if they were going to stick me in Ramsey Hospital, if I can get hold of a good oiled wheelchair and the door was open, I'd be gone because it's all downhill to my place, you know.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, listen, take it easy. It's good to hear from you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Wilf. It's 12:15. Is Eddie with us now? Hi, Eddie.
Hi, Andy. All right, mate?
Good, thanks, yeah.
Yeah, last time I was on, I only had 1 minute because I came on right at the very end.
Right.
I'd hung on. So, if I may, can I just emphasise what I was trying to say that day?
Okay.
Yeah, I've got 2 points. This first one was about your interview with schools. There's a lot of people ring me up and tell me that they think it's a great idea, But we mustn't forget that they are young people without life experience. They are still learning. And what you were doing, no offence, honestly, but you were asking them about the wind turbines. Well, they don't know anything about the wind turbines. And one of the reasons for that is because a certain Paul Burgess wanted to go around the schools to enlighten these sixth formers, or what do you call them, year 12 now? Or
12 and 13.
Whatever. Yeah, but the government stopped him from doing it. The majority of the teachers in the schools are not enough well up on it. I mean, I put myself in this class as these sixth formers in a sense, because if you remember, up until 2.25 years ago, 2.5 years ago nearly, I didn't know anything about them, but I took the time to start learning about it. And everything I've learned about it is not good. So I think that when your words, can I emphasise some of your words that you said the other day?
Yeah.
Was it's their future. They're the future taxpayers, bill payers, voters, everything.
Yeah.
So they need to know now the truth of it. It's no good sort of, most of the publicity is what comes from the MUA, which we have found out is an absolute pack of lies. So they really need to get, I don't know whether the teachers are even interested in maybe putting something forward like this.
Yeah, well, when you say pack of lies, that's a very strong statement. What do you mean, Eddie?
Well, we've pointed out over and over, they have told us that there'll be no risk of flooding. We know there will be. They've told us that it will be killing minimum amount of birds, negligible, their words, I think. They've told us that we're going to get 74% out of it, which is an impossibility. The record anywhere in the world is 51%, and that was in it almost just prior to it stopping in a storm. There's so many things. Well, rather than say lying, let's put exaggeration.
Right, okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I'm sorry,
yesterday, Eddie, there was a student called Ruby who was very much against Erie Stain. She talked about the biosphere, she talked about the impact that it would have, she talked about the amount of pollution that actually building the thing would take as well. There were a couple of students yesterday who weren't in favour at all.
Well, I listened to yesterday, and my other comment was going to be this, because one was in Ramsey, and the other yesterday's was in the south. Mm. Well, in the south, it's in the public interest.
Well, it's a hot topic in the south.
Mums and dads of these kids are talking about it. So you're going to get an influence in that alone. So they're going to be more aware of it. Whereas the Ramsey ones, it hasn't concerned them at the moment. And am I right in saying one of the girls was an MHK's daughter anyway?
I believe she was, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so there's going to be a slight bias down there. So we had the NIMBYism at this end because it is in our backyard.
Yeah. I mean, there is an issue in Ramsey, and that's with the offshore wind turbines, because those things that will look like invaders from outer space will be 6 miles offshore and 1,000 feet high. So, but at the moment, that's not hot news in Ramsey.
Well, I've actually spoke to 4 of the Castle Rushen sixth formers. Personally, and on each occasion, when I pointed things out, they say the words are, "Oh, I didn't know that." And my point now I'm trying to get over is that they need to know. So why don't we try and get Paul Burgess back? This is a message for the government, really, more than anything. Get Paul Burgess back. He's an absolute expert on everything you want to know, the fors and the against.
Okay. Just one thing, Eddie. They were 16 and 17 years of age yesterday, and we get students from years 12 and 13. Can you remember when you were 16 and 17, how much notice you took of the world?
Well, that was another point I was going to say. You don't really care about these things until you're about 21, 25, something like that.
Well,
once you've settled into life.
And my point is that
saying about
the government
life's experience.
Yeah, the government made a big thing a few years ago of lowering the voting age, and they trumpeted it all over the media. It was big news in the UK that the Isle of Man voting age is 16. Now, what use is a 16-year-old's vote if they don't know anything?
If they don't know anything, I totally agree, which is why I'm trying to get my point over on that. Can I give you my other point now? Because there'll be other people wanting.
Yeah, there is a couple of people hanging on.
Yeah, there was a programme on television the other night. Have you heard of the BBC reporter Katja Adler?
Oh, yes, she's normally in Berlin and places like that, isn't she?
That's
she
right.
She's a foreign correspondent, yeah.
Yeah, but she's done a programme. It's a documentary thing about the Balkans, and she's travelling right through the Balkans. And to my amazement, she had gone through Serbia, and half of Serbia has gone one way and a half of the other. One half, they absolutely idolise Putin, and the other half doesn't. They're pretty neutral.
Yeah.
But then she moved from Serbia through into a place called Albania. It's a massive country, is Albania. But over the recent years, they've discovered that they have got enormous amounts of, guess what? Oil, gas, chromium, aluminium, plutonium, you name it, everything. And while she was doing her programme, I noticed one thing, and she said it herself. As far as the eye can see, they've opened oil wells. And my point is now, you've got Australia opening oil mines, wells, everything, drilling for oil, gas, you name it. Everything is going that way. Right, that's right down that end. And then in the Middle East and Europe, you've got the Balkans, which are all opening mines and drilling again. America, both north and south, drilling again for oil and gas. And then you've got Germany, which is switched slightly there. Switzerland, Norway, they're all going the other way. Now, why the hell we are still putting £50 million to one side for net zero when it'll never, ever, ever happen? That should go to the National Health.
Okay, right.
And everybody else agrees with me.
Finally, Eddie, just one point, and it's a message that's just come in on the text and just said, look, Eddie, if this wind turbine, if the wind turbine at Eristane, if they suddenly said, bad idea, we're going to put it in Sulby, would you be as much against it if it were in the north rather than the south?
And immediately answer, yes. I want my view, I want the whole Isle of Man a national park. That's my ambition in life.
All right, thanks, Eddie.
See you, mate.
24 minutes past 12, Vivian's on. Hello, Vivian.
Hello, Andy. Oh, I'm going in a completely different direction here, and you might shoot me down in flames. I want to talk about Mr. Trump and what he's trying to do to the rest of the world. And we all sit back and think, oh, it'll never affect us. But I'm sorry, I think he's going to try and take over the world. And I want to know what our governments, the English government, are even thinking about doing to stop him.
Why do you think? I mean, he does overstate things from time to time, doesn't he?
Yes.
So,
but he talks about changing the Gulf of Mexico into the Gulf of USA or
America,
and all the rest of it. And we're only a little island, but if he decides to be difficult, he could take us over in a sweep. And I don't think anybody ever thinks about these things. I can't stand the man, but I'd hate him to do anything to spoil England and the Isle of Man.
Well, he seems to have a soft spot for the UK. Well, of course, he's got investments, hasn't he? He owns a golf course in Scotland.
Yes, but he's just... I don't trust him. That's the big thing. Okay. And I just have a feeling that he's being nice now, but I don't think England, Keir Starmer and all can stand up to him. None of them can match him, and that worries me a great deal. Perhaps I'm worrying about nothing, but I just thought I'd bring it up.
Well, no, you're more than welcome to that opinion, Vivian. We appreciate it. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. A message in. Oh, we got the WhatsApps working again. Whatever output the wind farms generate, it's clean power, and that's paramount to our environment. All I can see. Most of the objections are being voiced by the older generation, says Big John in Ramsey. I love Howard's stories. He's a goldmine of Isle of Man knowledge. Awesome to listen to those stories. Anybody know then the Isle of Man swimming, the Douglas Bay swimming? When did it happen? When was it? When was the first one? When was the last one? Were you involved in it? Did you swim across the bay? Crikey, that must have been some swim across the bay. I think Donald Trump would fit well in Tynwald. Thank you. Interesting, says G. The students at Ramsey and Castletown don't buy into riding bicycles for travel. That was interesting. And no, none of the students, I'm not saying they're representative of the whole school, but none of them cycled to school. Many will go to university and will never return. So what value for the green future? That was surprising that nobody cycled into school. Peel and Ramsey also had bay swims, and KWC had one at Derby Haven, all in the days of the large tourist trade. Nothing to do with the cold water swimming, says Kay. When was it? I mean, I've heard of that one at Derby Haven, but then again, King William's College used to have a cold water swimming pool, so they were used to it. A message. Oh, no, let's go. Bonzo's with us now. I think. Hi, Bonzo.
Hello, yes. Oh, God, where do I start? I'll just start with Eddie's remarks about young people not understanding anything. They don't have any experience. Well, I think when it comes to environmental issues and wind and renewables and wind turbines, they understand infinitely more than Eddie does, who just spouts his usual nonsense from his NIMBYist position, and of course the kind of right-wing nonsense that's spouted by Burgess.
But now, I mean, it is like, let's just get this.
No, let me finish.
It is an honestly held opinion.
Well, yes, but that doesn't, of course, stop it from being A, completely wrong, and B, completely misleading.
Okay.
Now, and thence we come on to his particular hero, Paul Burgess. Now, I think Paul Burgess was not allowed to go into schools because Paul Burgess is a political extremist. He was ejected from UKIP for being too right-wing. Yes, he was then the climate advisor to a much more extreme splinter party from UKIP, and also has associations with Tommy Robinson. He appeared on some of Tommy Robinson's podcasts, and indeed even did a documentary on Tommy Robinson, which was somewhere on YouTube, but I think, like with the other Tommy Robinson stuff, has been deleted. He is nothing but a climate charlatan. And like right-wing people, like Trump, they use the climate issue and they weaponize it in order to push their right-wing agenda, which Viv is very, very right, and others should be concerned. But it's not actually Trump who's the problem. It's Elon Musk. Elon Musk and his little minions are very busy now taking over US computer systems. They've taken over the one at USAID, of course, which they've closed down that particular government department. But that then gets them access into other pieces of the government system. And at the moment, they're apparently busying themselves within the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration system, which are the people who monitor climate issues, amongst other things. And, of course, in Trump's first administration, all reference to climate change was just eradicated from those records, and records vital to actually measuring the effect would have been deleted and would have been lost if it hadn't been for other people who'd actually backed them up. The thing is that Elon Musk, as I say, his minions, are creepingly taking over all of the US IT systems. This is not me venturing an opinion. You can read this, in Reuters or BBC or any reputable media. This is happening, and indeed there is a day of protest today throughout America. There were large crowds outside the US Treasury overnight protesting, and I think in 50 cities in 50 states over today there are going to be mass protests about Trump, or should I say Elon Musk,
right? Because
of course it's Elon Musk who's bought Trump, lock, stock and barrel.
Isn't it strange, though? A few years ago, Elon Musk was the doyen of the people into sustainability, because he was the one who absolutely took electric vehicles to another stage, made them a marketable property, and Teslas were absolutely everywhere. So he was the pin-up boy for the greenies, if you like, the sustainability lobby, and now suddenly it appears it's gone the other way. Why would that be?
Oh, I don't think he was ever some kind of green pin-up boy, because, of course, he didn't invent the Tesla in the same way as he didn't invent PayPal. He was somebody who knew how to exploit these things in a business way. And indeed, he hasn't really invented SpaceX at all. He's just bought a lot of very expensive people who, very talented people who know how to do these things, and have sorted out the money. But that's put him in another. That's put him in another position whereby he has his own satellite constellation. And he puts up Department of Defense satellites and stuff. So he's got access to all of that. Now, if you've got access to the US government computer systems and you have your own satellite constellation, well, you're pretty much in Bond villain territory there.
Wow. Well, in fact, we use his satellite technology. We use, and there's lots of people on the Isle of Man use Starlight.
Yeah, use Starlink. Yeah,
Starlink. Yes.
And so that gives him entry points into all over the world.
Okay. All right. Just one thing I want to put to you, Bonzo, because you said that right-wing politicians have politicised the sort of anti-green agenda. By the same token, have left-wing politicians politicised the sustainability agenda?
No, I think it's been a question of them trying to advocate these things, and then having these right-wing politicians who are financed by the fossil fuel industry, and this is well documented in a variety of cases, going back 50 years or so. And indeed, there was the scandal of the chap at the climate research place in the University of East Anglia, who was the victim of the whole fossil fuel-sponsored character assassination and credibility assassination campaign, which took him 3 years to actually sort out. And that set back climate research about 5 years.
Okay. All right, so, Bonzo. Yeah, that's good. We appreciate it, Bonzo. Thanks for calling today.
Okay, then.
Good to hear from you. Government spending and scrutiny, says 223. For years, many local contractors have complained that certain government departments are using favoured contractors without going out to tender, or engineering contracts to suit certain contractors. The result, I think, is not just getting value for money. Pat sent me a note in just to say an informal UK review of HM Attorney General Chambers' managed national government procurement policy and procedures concluded the Isle of Man didn't comply with the World Bank OCDS Open Procurement Anti-Corruption Standard. And still doesn't. An Isle of Man review of local government procurement uncovered large differences in costs for exactly the same things from exactly the same suppliers to different authorities. Thank you, 223. Pat, if you want to send me an email with that in, if there's an official link to that, I'll be interested to see it. More messages, and as I mentioned, the WhatsApps are working as well. And remember, the steam packet sailings are cancelled or amended due to the spring tides at the moment. So this afternoon's Heysham to Isle of Man is leaving Heysham at 2:30, not 1:45. Douglas to Heysham tonight, instead of 8 o'clock, is leaving at 7:15. Tomorrow morning's 8 o'clock. Douglas to Heysham is leaving at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. The 1:45 Heysham to Douglas tomorrow afternoon is 5:30. So anyway, lots happening for this, and let's get back to the phone, shall we? Tony's on now. Hi, Tony.
How you doing, Andy?
Very well, thanks. It's a lovely day, isn't it? What's it like where you are?
Oh, it's very nice. Red blue sky. It's a bit chilly, but it's very, very nice. Wind's dropped off, therefore boat can sail. What can I say? You know, if we should rename it, instead of calling it the Manxman, we should call it only under 50 gusts, because it doesn't sail at gusts of 50. It's easier now, because you look on the weather and it says gust 50, boat won't sail. Simple as that. They might as well call that the new name for it. I'm getting exasperated with a lot of things by this government, but in particular, the fact that they won't tell the truth. They do not tell the truth. You had a minister on the other day saying, oh, yeah, we wrongly let this go. Oh, no, one of the MHKs leaked it, which wasn't supposed to go out. So, hang on, we've got a so-called administrative letter that says, OK, we're going to cancel all this. And then the minister steps in and says, oh, no, you can't do that. We've got to do something about this. So I come back to the question, why have we got Manx Care? Because Manx Care actually can't run itself. It's run basically by the DHSC because they're holding the purse strings. So the sensible thing is, if you've got an outfit, a company, a business of any sort, and which is what the Manx Care really is, that's what the National Health Service is. It's a not-for-profit business, which means we can spend as much money as we like to a lot of people. The end result is they have no control because it's controlled by the person with the purse strings. So you basically can't run a business like that properly. You can't run it efficiently because every time you need to do something, you're going to have to go and ask somebody.
Well, we don't know at what level DHSC gets involved. Claire Christian, the minister, said the other day, as far as Manx Care's day-to-day, we don't want them to tell us when they're going to paint a corridor or something like that. But obviously something has happened. They've fallen out over something, whether it's Manx Care's cost savings. She let it slip that there will be, a political fallout over it. There'll be political problems, which means it was obviously something that would have gone down badly with the public that Manx Care had chosen to cut, and DHSC decided otherwise.
Yeah, but the issue is, we don't find out what it is.
Well, that's it. Until afterwards.
Get a load of rubbish. So how are we supposed to make any judgments?
Well,
we're the ones that vote for these people. And we're the ones that put them in power.
They're assuming that
they treat us.
Yeah, they're assuming that we have to trust them, Tony, that we have to trust them to make the right decisions. And by and large, we do. We put our trust in government and government organisations to do the right thing. It's just at the moment, they're squabbling like children in a playground.
I think it's worse than that. I think they just don't tell the truth. So it's not just squabbling. They're arguing and not wanting to tell anybody about what the argument is, which is a public issue. This is not a couple of kids having an argument. This is millions and millions and millions of pounds being wasted, and nobody wants to admit we're wasting millions of pounds. You have a board at the Manx Care, which is numerous people who I couldn't name, and I'm sure most of the people in the world can't name, because they don't live here. So they're not local people. They're not somebody who's got an interest in the Isle of Man. They are getting paid. So my question is, it comes back to, why have we got no transparency? Alf Cannon promised transparency. This is not transparency. This is opaque, to say the very least. And when you turn around and say, oh, it's all a right-wing conspiracy, which is what Bonzo's just said about global warming, and people who disagree with it, oh, it's a right-wing conspiracy. It's not a right-wing conspiracy. Everybody's allowed their own opinion, and if you look at the opinions, we are buying, and this is what's going to happen. That's why the finance minister wants to get hold of the fund. We're going to end up paying millions and millions and millions to buy carbon credits so they can make this so-called net zero target, which won't be net zero, because at the end of the day you're buying certificates off somebody and you don't know what the certificate's for, let alone control of it. So if you think about it, Elon Musk's in the middle of that because he's selling certificates for building electric cars. So I don't have a side on either side. I think we should do the right thing to try and improve this planet as much as possible. But I don't believe in setting a target that is not attainable, that is a lie, because that's what it is. It's based on somebody selling you a certificate that says, here's a get-out-of-jail card free, and it's going to cost you X amount per tonne of CO2 that we are capturing somewhere else. I'd rather have my own system for capturing CO2, thank you very much, or see a system for capturing CO2. I'd rather do that, but the whole system of capturing CO2 is extremely complex and we've got nowhere to put it. So rather than drill the gas wells out offshore, get the money from that, and then do what they said at the end of the day, make it a CO2 storage area, which there are other places in the world, by the way, that actually do that. So you can then sequester CO2 if you can work out how to do it and stick it in the ground as liquid. And it comes out, basically, you can then bleed it off as gas. If you're not careful, it will turn to solid, but that's fine. That's part of CO2. But realistically, we just need to start telling the truth. We are spending money on grandiose schemes, and we continue to do that as a government, as a nation. We're spending every penny we've got on something that is nebulous. It's not actually a target, it's a nebulous target. Somebody says, oh, I think we should do that. It's not we're going to fly to the moon. This is a target that's in somebody's head. And it's connected to money. Follow the money.
Yeah.
The money trail says, I'll sell you carbon credits. And carbon credits in Europe are more expensive than over here or in the world. I'm horrified by the amount of lack of truth, which is causing people not to have a clear picture of what's going on.
And consequently, to lose faith in politicians.
Correct, which is the wrong thing to do. I want to have faith in politicians. The only one who's ever said this is going to cost us a lot of money is David Ashford. When he was Treasury Minister, he was on your programme, and he actually said that. And he's the only person I've heard on the radio from the government who actually said that. So why don't all the politicians, all of them, go round to the sixth forms in schools with you, if you like, and ask the question, what do you know about net zero? And see what they say, and then try and tell them what they're going to do about net zero. Because there's going to be a lot of puzzled faces as to what are you doing then? Do you think electric cars is going to fix it? Oh, yeah, of course it is. No, it's not, because you won't be able to get... Electric car uses CO2 to be made. The process of making the batteries, which are toxic, is colossally expensive in CO2 terms, because you're burning fuel to make the elements that sit in the battery. And add on to that all the other things that are wrong.
Okay, Tony.
And I'm not against wind farms, I'm not against electricity, I'm not against anything. I'm against doing something that's mad.
I think we get the picture. If you like, it's rather like when people say, I want world peace. Well, I want world peace. It's just how do you get there? We all want to treat the planet properly. We want a sustainable future, but we want personal transport. It's just how do we get there, and how do we do it for the least cost?
Yeah, so we can still survive and stay warm in the future.
Okay, all right, Tony.
We're not going to be able to do that.
Appreciate it.
I just think, the one word they should be swearing to is telling the truth, but they're not.
All right. Thanks for calling today.
You take care, Andy. Thanks, bye.
All right, it's 1:45.
With Mannin Fuels, home heating oil is made easy. With our free smart monitoring system, you'll never run out or have to think about ordering. Our online accounts and easy payment plans make it really simple to manage. Mannin Fuels can even help with new tanks, boilers and servicing. Combine all that with reliable, efficient deliveries and we've got it covered. Just call us on 844000. Mannin Fuels, making life easier.
Bright headlights on the road can hold you back. Holmes & Davidson Opticians present an advanced solution, our cutting-edge road lens coating. Significantly reducing glare, clarity is enhanced, driving confidence elevated. Experience safer and more confident vision. Trust Holmes & Davidson Opticians to keep you safer on the roads. Book your consultation today at holmesanddavidsonopticians.co.uk or call 676 230.
Waltons have hundreds of TVs in stock ready to go, from Samsung to LG, here on the island. Plus, a large range of main appliances in stock, including fridge freezers, washing machines, and everything your home will need from all the top brands like Smeg, Samsung, and Hotpoint. With special offers throughout the store and delivery and installation available, check out Waltons on Facebook or waltons.im. Or, even better, visit Waltons in Isle of Man Business Park, opposite Robinson's, for great prices and great service.
This Sunday is National Pizza Day, and here at Manx Radio we're giving you the chance to win a £30 pizza voucher to spend at Paramount City. You could be one of 3 lucky winners to enjoy delicious pizza at one of the island's hottest new pizzerias. To win, listen out across the weekend and take part in our pizza quiz question, and we'll announce the winners live on air next Monday. Celebrate National Pizza Day with Paramount City and your nation's station, Manx Radio.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
13 minutes before 1. I agree with this caller, says WhatsApper 450. I'm 100% in favour of improving the environment and sustainable development, but net zero is simply the monetisation and commodification of atmospheric stability by multinational organisations whose sole aim is to profit. Well, you sometimes get the feeling, don't you, that we, as lay people, the ordinary people, the voters, the taxpayers, we're in the middle of this. We're surrounded by politicians, we're surrounded by big business, and obviously the civil service who are running all this. But we're the ones who pay the bills. We're the ones who pay the electricity bills and the gas bills and the oil bills. We're the ones who pay for all this. We're the ones who pay the taxes, the direct and the indirect taxes. And it just seems as though, particularly now what's happened in America, in that the most powerful man in the world has decided to tear all that up, net zero up, and to go to drill, baby, drill. So who do we believe? Are we driving ourselves down a cul-de-sac that's going to cost us a fortune to get out of? And remember, we only have finite reserves. We don't have as deep a pockets as the other places around us. If we get this wrong, then we're in trouble. I'd like to know why some of your callers are against wind turbines, says 744. If they were anywhere else on the Isle of Man rather than south, perhaps they wouldn't be against them. In my opinion, I don't think so. What does it matter how efficient a wind turbine is, as it's free once the wind turbine has been built, says Lawrence. I agree, youngsters know far more about green energy than we give them credit for. Well, strictly speaking, you do have to carry on to maintain a wind turbine, and also if it gets damaged you have to mend it. But we get the picture. It's basically, the cost is front-loaded. You have to buy it. And again, I'm 100% in favour of improving the environment, says that. And Julian's on now. Hi, Julian.
Hi, Andy. How you doing?
Terrific, because I can't wait to get out into the sunshine.
Oh, yes, it's nice out there, isn't it? Finally. Interesting that school at the Castle Rush thing you did yesterday. When people say about, it's clean energy and all the rest of it, don't forget you have to duplicate for the base load. So you've got to have all your gas running in the background waiting for the moment when there's no wind or no sun. So, there's all kinds of costs that are not talked about. Just quickly, I'm going to carry on that subject. Just quickly, something I'm a bit puzzled about, because the schools and a few other people have mentioned about Trump. I'm kind of curious as to how it is that he won historic increases in votes for Latino and Hispanic voters. And for the first time in 30 years, a Republican got the Miami-Dade County, which is heavily Hispanic. He doubled his black voter base. And he also massively increased the Arab and Muslim vote, especially in Michigan, there's a lot of Muslims there. And Michigan, it was very, very anti-Trump. So I just find it interesting that they kind of really pushed him over the line with that. And of course, a lot of Democrats were not very happy as well because there wasn't a primary election for the Democrats to choose a winner. They just installed Kamala Harris.
Well, it's fair to say that the whole election of Mr. Trump has polarised opinion. Polarised it, I don't think, as we've ever seen before. But I heard one interesting way of looking at Mr. Trump, and somebody said that the thing is that Mr. Trump's supporters take him seriously, but not literally. And Mr. Trump's detractors take him literally, but not seriously. And that's the difference.
Yeah, and, when you look at things like both ends of the Panama Canal are controlled by the Chinese are massively into trying to get hold of resources in Africa, basically treating a lot of those mines like slaves. You've got to wonder, if we don't have America as some sort of a leader, are we going to have China instead? You have to ask that question. Who's going to fill the vacuum?
Okay.
Yeah, just quickly as well, Elon Musk, there's only one reason why they're mad at him. He took over Twitter, so he freed up Twitter so people don't get kicked off immediately for talking negatively about vaccines or wind farms and stuff. And just finally, if the Isle of Man wants to be taken seriously as a world-class financial centre, we need to do financial due diligence. Just looking, Ørsted at the moment, currently 81% down on their share value. Vestas Wind Systems, which is one of the ones that were chosen possibly for the Isle of Man, are down 70%. Mingyang Smart Energy, the largest Chinese manufacturer of wind turbines, down 71%. And I might remind people that Debenhams, when they went under in 2019, they dropped 70% in the 7 months previous to their demise. So, when you're looking at people like Ørsted dropping 81%, if that was something like a retailer, you'd be wondering if the doors were going to be open on Monday, wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, the trouble is with any new technology, I'm not saying wind turbines are new technology because they're not, but at the moment we're at the forefront of all this, and whenever new stuff comes in, normally you have to have a wave of bankruptcies, sometimes two. It happened with canals in England, it happened with railway lines all over the world. The first businesses don't necessarily make all the money, they're the trailblazers. So we'll see, really, and they did lose, was it their finance director or their managing director, Ørsted?
Yeah, that was the CEO, Mads Nipper.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but you have to look. For example, America, New York State with their Empire and Sunrise wind farms. I mean, I think now Ørsted took 12 billion loss in impairment fees because they basically were told you can't be heavily subsidised anymore. You should be able to stand on your own 2 feet.
Yeah.
So it's been reflected in other places like Norway as well.
Okay, all right, Julian, we appreciate it. Thanks for calling today.
Thanks, Andy. Cheers.
6 minutes before 1. I have to make an apology, by the way. Yesterday I gave the wrong figure for the cost of development at Castle Rushen High School. I mentioned a higher figure. The actual figure for the money that's been spent on Castle Rushen High School development so far is £2,035,369.22p. So far for Castle Rushen High School, the new Castle Rushen High School, the money's been spent on feasibility studies, pre and post contracts, design consultancy fees, and that sort of stuff, and still not a sod turned at Castle Rushen High School. And that was, and again, talking to the students there yesterday, the one contact they did have with politicians who said, you're going to have a new school. They've been there, some of them 6 years, some of them nearly 7 years, and the school still isn't built. So that's what you heard yesterday. They love the school. Castle Rushen High School is vibrant. It's happy. It's very productive. The teachers are terrific there. It's just old. It's just a bit tatty. And what do you think the students think when politicians say you're going to have a new school and they don't get a new school? They go right through the school, head off to university or to work, and there they are. No new school. But anyway, fun we had yesterday, and thanks to everybody at Castle Rushen High School for organising that. We're at St Ninian's next week. Just a quick word about ManxNet. Manx Telecom continue to work with the email vendor, I think, which is in Australia, to get those resolved as quickly as possible. If you're on ManxNet, their team are in regular communication with the engineers at Mail and are pushing for a solution. But as it stands at the moment, there are still problems with ManxNet. So if you're having difficulties sending your emails or receiving them, that's the reason why. Peel Commissioners want you to have your say about the new development on Marine Parade. They're looking to build a cafe and community centre, new public loos and function rooms. The tennis court maybe go in there, of course. There's a drop-in session today until 4 o'clock at the Town Hall. Photos of the proposals are on the Peel Commissioners website as well. So it's on till 4 at Peel Town Hall. Project's going to take 2 years to complete from the date of full planning approval. So anyway, I got lots of messages about the Douglas Bay swim, but we got tied up with Mr. Trump for some reason. Back tomorrow. Thursday's open line from noon until 1. Thanks to Chris Quirk on the phones today. Thank you for listening. It's good to have you along.
WINT